I'm Scotty Powell,
And I'm James Brierton. Welcome to a special edition of the Carolina Weather Group.
here at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
We are back out here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The second time this year you got us out here.
Yeah, excited to be here. You know, good thing is we don't really have that many weather issues to worry about this week.
It's such a stark change from when we were out here for the spring NASCAR race here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And now as we head into this fall race, there's almost no weather to even talk about.
And it's a stark change from the track formation as well.
Yes.
We had the oval. This week is the ROVAL, which is road course and oval put together. I mean, I like the name. It's creative.
You know, I've grown accustomed to it. And if you are a new NASCAR fan, then we're going to help you get introduced to it as well, too. Even if you are a NASCAR expert, let me explain to you what's coming up on the special edition of the Carolina Weather Group, where each week we like to talk about weather, science, technology, and more. And I think we have a little bit of all of that. You, sir, are the on-site meteorologist for the Speedway.
Yes.
So we'll go into what that means for you. And I am jokingly the guy who knows nothing about sports ball. So together, this show is for everyone, new and old, to NASCAR. We're so excited to be out here in Concord, just driving in off of 85. You can see not only, of course, are the car dealerships full and waiting for crowds, but like the signs welcoming the NASCAR fans back to really what is NASCAR's hometown.
Yeah, and we've got the souvenir rigs out there, all the displays. You may even see some paint buckets behind us. They're finishing touching the start-finish line because that's where all the action ends, both Saturday and Sunday.
To say that the Speedway has a fresh coat of paint tonight would be no illusion, because as we are standing out here recording this on Thursday night, just days ahead of the festivities kicking off for race weekend, the crews are literally out here painting the logos that you see on the track around us. And not only is the logos freshly painted, but so is the pit wall. For Breast Cancer Awareness Month, it is pink here in October, so you'll be seeing that as part of race coverage this weekend too.
Yeah, and that's a big thing for the Saturday Xfinity races, the Blue Cross Blue Shield 200, but the emphasis on the Breast Cancer Awareness Month being October. So you'll see a lot of pink. In fact, I think there's going to be some pink window nets, some pink
cool.
steering wheels and components like that for the racetrack. And all those will be auctioned off for charity for the breast cancer, Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Fund. So a lot of good stuff with that initiative going on. And also, James, I mean, they're testing out the pylon, the big screen TV on the backstretch. This is kind of like imagining getting ready for a big football event.
Yeah.
You've got to test out all the stuff before everybody gets in here and fills this place up.
Well, Scotty's going to give us a little tour here coming up and show you some of the sights and sounds around the track that we're seeing here tonight. We're also going to have an updated forecast coming your way in just a few minutes, so you can have the latest race forecast coming your way, a part of this special edition of the Carolina Weather Group. But let's talk a little bit about that weather, because it is abnormally dry. And I don't just mean that in terms of it hasn't rained now for nearly 2 weeks here in Charlotte. But also, we joke all the time on this show that every time NASCAR races in Charlotte, it monsoons, but not this time.
Yeah, the old joke is if you're in a drought, just schedule a NASCAR race, and that drought will be going away with after the weekend. But we have some dry weather here. There is going to be a cold front moving through Friday evening into Saturday morning, where we could see a light sprinkle, but that's not really going to affect anything here at the track, as all the activities start Saturday into Sunday. And I mean, Sunday, we've been talking about this taste of fall.
Yes.
We're definitely going to get that taste of fall on Sunday morning, where temperatures here at the Speedway could be in the low 40s. I'm sure all these campers out here will have the bonfires going, maybe some s'mores, and just trying to stay warm.
Well, you know, to say that this is the fall race here in Charlotte, it is going to taste and smell and feel like fall out here for the big race, which, you know, it's funny, there's still a banner up in front of us that says Coca-Cola 600 Memorial Day weekend. I imagine that is still on the list of things to change before they get into this October race out here. But if you are going to be coming out, whether you're camping or you're going to be in the seats behind us, you're going to want to bundle up, because those temperatures, those morning hour temperatures, if I'm not mistaken, are going to be like in the 40s.
Yeah, low 40s. Plus, you know, you probably, if you've lived here long enough, and those who may be newbies to the area, when we get these strong fall cold fronts, we always get breezy behind them.
Yes.
So you may get the low temperatures in the 40s, but then you add on a 15 to 20 mile per hour wind gust. You can definitely feel chilly out here. Thankfully, There's going to be a lot of sunshine for your Sunday, so at least the sunshine will help keep you warm, but we may not get out of the 60s on Sunday. In fact, right now, the forecasted high about 67 degrees as a plane flies over right now. So it is definitely going to feel very fall-like here for the NASCAR race. And when you think of fall, you also think of football. And when you think of football, you think of playoffs. Well, this NASCAR race is the cutoff for the second round of the playoffs. That means 4 more drivers get eliminated after Sunday's event. So a lot of pressure on a lot of people as we enter this weekend.
It's a big, important race. And before we get too far away from the weather, you made me think of something. You talked about bonfires and staying warm and then breezy conditions. It's dry.
Yes.
So you got to really, if you're going to be having a fire, whether out here at the track or at home across the Carolinas, make sure it's a small and contained, because a little wind can pick that up and we have very dry brush out there.
Yeah, and it's the fall season, so we're starting to get those leaves that come off the trees, getting a lot of foliage to fall off. So yeah, not the ideal time for dry, windy conditions any fall here in the Carolinas, but especially with it being so dry. We definitely need to watch that. And humidity values are also going to be low as well. It's going to be a dry, cooler Sunday.
Chapstick weather?
Chapstick weather. Yeah, you definitely want to make sure you have that. So, yeah, be sure you take those precautions out there. We don't need any wildfires or anything like that. So.
Yeah, we'll have a complete updated check of your forecast just a few minutes away on the special edition of the Carolina Weather Group. Well, Scotty, this is your home territory. You've been doing on-site meteorology for the Speedway here in Charlotte and other tracks for a couple of years now.
Yes.
What is your role on any given race weekend?
So my role basically starts a week out. I send in forecasts every day because, like we talked about earlier, they're preparing the paint for the logos or they're painting the pit wall. So obviously all of that is weather related. You want to make sure there's no rain coming in because you don't want that paint to get washed off and they have to redo it again. So those forecasts really start towards that Monday leading up to the race event. And then as we get into the event and I do the updates daily, we get here to the track, check in. Normally we'll have a meeting about 2 days out and just kind of going over, hey, here's the logistics of the weekend. Here's our contact information, trying to get that chain of command set up. Like, here's who we communicate with. And then after that is the day of the race or the day of the races. You know, in the springtime, we have 3 or 4 different races here. In the fall, it's 2 races, but we're up in the race control tower and we're monitoring the radar. Obviously, the big thing we're looking for is lightning. We've talked about this on the show numerous times. Like, lightning is the biggest factor that we have to play in for. So, you know, the NCAA implemented an 8-mile radius around a facility. Let's say a football stadium, baseball stadium. Well, that's what we do here at the racetrack. So we have this lightning data that lights up when it's 20 miles out. It kind of is that, hey, heads up, there's something coming. Then once we get into that 12-mile, our little circle will light up orange, like, all right, it's time to start taking action. And then as it gets into the red category, that's when it's time to act and to make sure that we get everyone out of the stands. So lightning is a big thing. Obviously, wind, thunderstorms. You know, if there's a tornado watch overnight, you know, we've got all the campers in the campground here inside the track. So
you got to protect them even when the race isn't going on.
So we're up all night making sure that, you know, if there's a tornado warning issued at 2:30 in the morning, we have eyes on the radar, making sure everybody's safe.
Public address system, cell phone notifications.
Yeah, we have the fire EMS. They'll go through during those severe weather times, which we've had here before, and they'll sound their siren out if there's a warning or something like that, and they'll get on the loudspeaker, hey, severe weather in the area, make sure you head indoors or seek shelter to a safe place.
Well, the seats are all empty now, but come race weekend, they'll be full of race fans, and your responsibility is not to the track, but it's to the fans,
Yeah,
right?
to the fans. Yeah, we want to make sure the fans are safe. And one thing we do that is we're in constant talks with NASCAR. And so the NASCAR booth is right beside of us. We're always talking back and forth. And so we can see each other. There's a glass window here, but we can see each other. And if I ever give the X symbol,
we don't want to see this.
Yeah, that means there's lightning that's been detected in our area. And normally the red flag will come out. They'll bring the drivers and the pit people into the stands. We'll bring the people out of the stands and hopefully find them a safe place to be until the storm threat moves away.
So if you're a race fan and you've been here and they had to clear the stands due to severe weather and you were unhappy about it, you may write your postcard to Scotty.
That's right. And one thing that, James, you know all too well, living here in the Carolinas, anyone who lives here in the Carolinas.
I know where this is going, I think.
We could have a thunderstorm at Concord Mills, which is about 3 miles over there, and that lightning's in our radius and the sun can be shining here. But the thing is we talk about these positive lightning strikes, and they can literally, they're bolts out of the blue. So even if it's not raining here, we still have to stop the race. And that's when fans are just, they're just kind of confused, I guess. Well, it's not raining here, but it's the parameter. It's within that 8 miles. That's what, data says that, lightning can strike 8 miles without a thunderstorm. So sometimes, even if it's sunny here, we still have to cause it.
Well, you must have a great seat, because one of the wonderful things about being out here is not only are you close to Concord, you're close to uptown Charlotte, so you can see the skyline when you're back up there in the stands. You can see off into the distance as well, too. Now, I don't know if this is going to show up on camera or not, but I'm going to have Andrew and my father, Jim, kind of turn around here, because I want you to try to point out for our viewers, Scotty, where your seat is during race weekend. I know we're staring up into lights, folks, but Scotty, where up there do you hang out?
So if you see that area with that room with the lights on, the next room over is actually where I'm at, and that's our race control. And the lights on, that's the NASCAR booth, actually right there. So that's where we're at. Beside it is Mr. Smith's personal suite, where he has his friends and family come in. So that's where I'm at up there. We're right on the start-finish line, and, we have that view. The sky doesn't lie. And when you can see those bubbling cumulus clouds out there, you really know, especially when their heat and humidity is around, that we could see storms.
Let's walk back this way, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the track, Scotty, because I'm a bit of a NASCAR novice. I'm not known for being a sports junkie, but I think it's Mr. Smith himself who can take credit for this idea of a road course. I'm paraphrasing a podcast I listened to on the way in so I could sound smart right now. But as I understood Marcus's telling of the story, his father wanted to test some sports cars, and then Marcus saw the track and went, that might work.
Yeah, Mr. Smith, Marcus Smith, his father, Brierton, who ran the Speedway forever, unfortunately passed away a few years ago. But Marcus has really taken that torch and continued the legacy. And so Marcus is not afraid to try different things. If you recall, the last couple of years at Bristol, they put dirt on a track and put the NASCAR races on there. And so here at Charlotte, we had a beautiful oval, 1.5 miles. One that's
still running in the spring.
Still running in the spring, but Marcus is like, hey, let's try something different. And so they made the Roval. It's 2.2 miles. Funny thing is, the first rendition was 2.5, but they took out 3 or 4 turns because of the speed. They couldn't get, the cars were going too slow, actually. So they took out a portion of the turns over there. So it's 2.2 miles, 17 turns. And if you are a NASCAR buff, you know that the Roval year in and year out provides some of the most dramatic finishes that we see every year. And the very first one came down to Jimmy Johnson, 7-time champion, and Martin Truex, also a champion of the sport. They were coming in this last curve.
Right over here. It's a
little dark, but they were coming in this last turn, one of Jimmy's last years, and he had won a race all year, and he came in this turn too fast, lost control, took both the drivers out, and third place, Ryan Blaney won and sealed his deal to go on to the next round of the playoffs. So it's year after year. Chase Elliott put it in the wall right here.
Right where it says Bank of America?
Right there it says Bank of America. Put it in the wall there, came back and won the race. So there's all kinds of amazing moments that's taken place at this Roval in the short span that it's been around. So it is really one of my favorite events of the year, and it's one I encourage a lot of folks to come out and view.
I think the misnomer about NASCAR is that the drivers only turn left.
Yeah.
Well, but this track, as I understand it, I keep hearing the phrase, it's designed for drama.
It is. It really is. It's small. It's not very wide. It's very narrow. There's a lot of those hairpin turns where cars slow down and you just want to bump the guy out of the way, and that happens. It is really made up for drama. In fact, the very first year, these little barriers you can see here, they have sponsors on them. Bojangles, North Carolina based Bojangles. A car went off the track, hit the Bojangles sign, and was running around the whole track with the Bojangles sign right in front of his car on the windshield. So, it's just, it's crazy things like that, but it's why people keep coming back to this event, because everybody loves drama, right?
I was hoping you were going to say hit it in biscuits when everybody.
Well, I wouldn't put it past Mr. Smith to do that.
Well, let me take the guys over here for a moment, and I don't want to get too close because they've just painted it, but this is all fresh paint, and really up close here, these logos are huge.
Yeah.
When you see them on TV or you see them from the stands, you may not realize just how big these things are.
Yeah, and credit to your dad, who was talking to the folks who are out here doing this. He said they type it in on the GPS and a little robot comes out and maps it out, and all they come is spray the paint afterwards. So really a lot of technology in with that. And this is AstroTurf. This isn't real grass. The AstroTurf here is just like you would find on a football field. It's even got those black pebbles. If you've watched football and you see those instant replays with the pebbles like getting drug up from the feet of the receiver, it has that. In fact, right here is a little spot right here.
Oh,
we can see right here. So you can see there's the pebbles.
Oh, wow. Yeah, look at that.
And
little tiny circles. It looks like Dippin' Dots. I mean,
yeah, it really does.
But
or grapple if you want to put it weather terms.
I'm going to put this back how we found it so that we can come back next time.
But Mr. Smith, again, this is the only track on the NASCAR circuit that does that. And they found out with the way these cars are very aerodynamic, the way that they're put together, like if the front of the car was to hit grass, it destroys the car, tears the front fenders off, ultimately puts them out of the race. Well, these cars just slide across it. Now there's holes and stuff that the hot tires will burn into the AstroTurf. But as far as damaging the cars, there's yet to be a car that's damaged by this, and they can continue on racing. So.
Take a close look this weekend. We'll see if they fill this in after the podcast airs. I want to make these guys keep working a little bit because I want to walk pit road with you, Scotty, because, you know, Smith's Speedway, it's not just Charlotte, right? It's also all those other Speedway tracks, but when we were out here in the spring, you were talking about the success of North Wilkesboro, and we recently found out with the release of the NASCAR schedule this week and the news earlier in the last couple of weeks that you guys are going back there.
Yeah, North Wilkesboro is coming back for the All-Star race May the 17th or 18th. I can't remember the date. This way? Yeah, we can go this way.
Go this way? We'll walk backwards.
The North Wilkesboro Speedway, the Smith family owns Nashville Super Speedway.
Okay.
Out in Nashville, Tennessee, Bristol Motor Speedway in Bristol, Tennessee, Atlanta Motor Speedway down in your area, down towards the Georgia area. We also have New Hampshire Motor Speedway up in Loudon, New Hampshire. Kind of serves the Boston area.
Oh, okay.
And then
I don't know if I knew about that one.
Yeah, you have Las Vegas, Sonoma, which kind of serves the San Francisco area. We have two tracks in Texas, Texas Motor Speedway, which is close to Dallas, and then Coda, which is near Austin, Texas. I feel like I'm leaving out a track or two. Kentucky Motor Speedway.
It's okay. I wasn't testing.
I think that's all of them. Dover. I forgot. Dover, Delaware.
Even amongst that grand portfolio, North Wilkesboro is really unique. Are you excited to go back there next year?
I'm very excited. You know, to see the turn of fans there, a community who was so used to seeing NASCAR, you know, throughout the years, and then the race was kind of gone for several years, and then see it come back. Just kind of see the speedway. Very excited. They're getting ready to repave the track, so it's going to be new pavement there.
Okay.
They're still doing a lot of work with getting seats there. There's so many people wanting to go, and obviously it's a smaller track, so not as many seats. So it's really cool to see NASCAR going back to North Wilkesboro next year.
Some NASCAR legacy out there, and of course, if you're ever visiting Charlotte, we're also home to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. If you're a bit of a history buff. Yeah,
you got the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Right around this speedway, the NASCAR shops where these drivers, you can see their toolboxes right here.
Here's a tease. Stay tuned. We're going to show you some of them.
Yeah. There's the NASCAR shops just literally behind the speedway here of like Kendrick Motorsports, where you have Alex Bowman, William Byron, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott. So all the shops are around here as well. So very, very NASCAR friendly area in the Concord, Charlotte area.
We'll do some peering along pit road here in just a moment to see what we can learn about what the crews are preparing for in this upcoming weekend. We're going to pause for a moment and get a check of your latest weekend forecast as we carry on with the special edition of the Carolina Weather Group from Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Hey there, y'all. It's meteorologist Frank Strait here with a quick look at your weekend forecast, and we'll take a peek at next week, too. We'll start out here looking at the GFS forecast from Thursday morning, and this is valid for Saturday morning, and by this point, our cold front that will be leading some much cooler air into the Carolinas will be right along the coast here. We'll see it roughly here, almost exactly along our coast and into the Gulf of Mexico. Out ahead of that, and sort of retarding its progress, a storm that's will be swirling offshore. This is not Tropical Storm Philippe. This is actually it over here, this other little storm. The larger storm has sort of captured it and will be catapulting that over toward New England and Atlantic Canada. So it's not going to be a concern for us to have direct impacts. Instead, it'll be an issue for for that area up in Canada and New England. But we will potentially have to deal with some rough surf and rough coastal waters as well, especially for the Outer Banks over the weekend here because of these storms offshore. So keep that in mind if that's in your plans. But for us instead, we have much cooler air coming in. You can see high pressure centered close to Wichita, Kansas here. And that is going to be heading eastward toward us over the weekend. Another thing you'll notice here, notice the tightly packed isobars between this high pressure area or the center of this high and the front that's going to be along our coast. When you have them packed close together, that means you have a tight pressure gradient, a steep pressure gradient. And in those situations, you have the wind blowing in order to try to equalize those pressures out. Air flows from high pressure to low pressure. And so that means we're looking at some gusty winds during the day on Saturday. So for your Saturday, let's see, there we go, Saturday. And how about that in the mountains? Only in the 50s and 60s. So with the wind blowing, it'll feel even cooler, like the 40s and low 50s for the most part up there. Again, chilly day and a big turnaround compared to what we're seeing elsewhere across the Carolinas. The cold air is a little bit delayed, but still we're seeing high temperatures in the foothills, only in the 60s, low 70s in the upstate, and mid to high 70s elsewhere, and even some 80s right along the coast. So still a warm day for a lot of the Carolinas, but we're on the cool side, especially up in the mountains. Now, going ahead, advancing forward on the GFS into Sunday, and for the race, the Cup race starting at 2 o'clock Sunday, looks to be a generally nice day. It could still be a little breezy, especially the first part of the day, but certainly no rainfall coming our way. We'll have high pressure by the end of the day, centered somewhere over Mississippi, it looks like, and that keeping things quiet for us and dry. So looking like it's going to be a nice day overall, except that it's going to be on the cool side. Let's take a look at those high temperatures for your Sunday. There we go from the National Weather Service via weathermodels.com. And wow. Again, only 50s and low 60s in the mountains. It looks like 54, the National Weather Service high for Boone, 61 for Asheville, mid 60s, about 66 for Greenville and Spartanburg, South Carolina, going up by 85 to Charlotte, 66 for your high. And again, that's right about the time the Cup race starts there. So definitely a cool day for you there. Low 60s for the Triad, mid 60s for the Triangle. Not quite 70 in Columbia. I can't remember the last time it only stayed in the 60s here in Columbia. So cool day for sure. 71 for Charleston, 71 for Beaufort, 71 it looks like for Wilmington as well. And out of the Outer Banks, only 67 out there at Hatteras. So definitely a cool day there for you on Sunday. And then going later on in the week, Wednesday and Thursday, still no precipitation coming our way, but another front looks to be approaching later in the day, Thursday into Thursday night and Friday. So it looks like our next good chance of rain comes at the end of next week. And again, looking at your temperatures, there's the highs once again. We'll go to Monday, warming up a little bit in South Carolina, 70s for the most part, and a lot of 70s in North Carolina. Or high 60s in the mountains, cooler, but not as cool as the weekend. There's Tuesday, we're seeing 80s showing up in South Carolina and southeastern North Carolina, and some 70s showing up in the mountains. And there's a Wednesday with highs fairly widespread in the 80s in South Carolina and into southeastern North Carolina, and mostly in the 70s elsewhere. So that's your outlook for the next few days, and I'll hand it back over to James.
James Brierton, Scotty Powell, welcome back. Special edition of the Carolina Weather Group out here at Charlotte Motor Speedway for race weekend. And Scotty, we're standing in the pit boxes. They're not very large.
No, they're not. And this is probably one of the most important spots on the track, because with a road course race, there's a lot of beating and banging, and there's very limited passing opportunities. So a lot of action happens here. You want to get that fastest pit stop as possible, and you want to get out ahead of your competition. But you can see it's not very long, and they're very close together to the pit wall. So this is a really important component. You see this orange line,
Yeah,
James?
I was wondering about this.
You don't want to go there. That'll give you a penalty if you cross over it, because you're getting into someone else's pit box who likely there's a man here changing the tires, so you don't want to hit them. So, and another cool thing is, you feel it's pretty slick, right?
Okay, concrete.
Yeah. So a lot of guys, since it's the Coca-Cola racetrack, they'll spray Coca-Cola in here so those tires can get a little bit more traction, a little bit more grip, and help them really jet out back into the pit.
That's allowed area. So long as it's the sponsor? Is that how that?
Well, no, it's just, I mean, I guess you could use Pepsi, but, you know, we're a Coca-Cola track
I do like that you can actually see the tire marks. As you look all up and down pit road here, they still have that either, I'm going to guess some of this is intentionally left, right? Because it kind of gives it that real authentic legacy feel of races have been won and lost right here.
Oh, plenty of times. You know, this is one of the most important spots on a racetrack, and you know, this is where all wins from. So, you know, maybe whoever picks number 9,
is this our pick?
Maybe this will be Chase Elliott's box right here, and we can say he's going to win since we're gracing his.
So racing it. So we talked at the beginning of the show about the pink wall. You can see it here, freshly painted for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and they had families out and NASCAR drivers out painting this wall just a week or so ago.
Yeah, I think it was honestly last week that they did this, and this is something they do ever since it's the Drive for the Cure 250. This is something they've done every year, and I think it's just really cool that they support the Susan G. Komen initiative and really help raise some awareness for breast cancer.
Moments ago, we were talking, they've got some of the gear out here covered up. I don't remember seeing this last time we were here. I may have missed it, but you can see, right? Junior Motorsport, they're ready to go. Yeah,
this looks like it's the number 78 team right here. You see 92, but this is what they call the war wagons.
Oh, really?
So this is where all the pit equipment, let's say if a car gets in an accident or they need to change an oil filter or whatever, this is where all the equipment is, where all the tools are that are needed to help. And this is a very busy place because this is pit wall. So as you can see, James, those big war wagons are pretty big. So you're going to put it right here. And then this is pit lane where people are trying to go back and forth to get their tires and their gas. So it's very crowded, very congested areas. So it's very important. But yeah, these big pit boxes, you know, that's where all the tools are to help make their car hopefully get to victory lane.
Well, let's take a short walk down this way. You mentioned victory lane. It's the place where the drivers want to end up this weekend, and it's where we're going to end up at the end of our show. So let's go show that to you right now.
Well, James, this is where everybody wants to be. Victory circle, victory lane, whatever you want to call it.
It is a circle. It's not a lane, but either way, it's still going to be the spot where everybody wants to be. Would you like to do the honors?
I'm going to, for a great forecast.
Congratulations.
Now watch some random storm
rogue storm pops up out of nowhere.
Be on my luck.
Well, if you're coming out here to Charlotte Motor Speedway this weekend, prepare for early morning cool temperatures. Yes. Otherwise,
lots of sunshine, probably your sunglasses.
Yeah.
Probably still some sunscreen. I mean, you can probably still get a sunburn.
I was going to say unseasonably dry, both in the fact that it hasn't had any measurable rain here in Charlotte in 2 weeks, but also the fact that, as we joked at the beginning of the show, it tends to rain and
we could probably, no, let's not even go there. Bring your sunscreen, your chapstick, something warm to wear, especially in the morning, but it's one of those layer days. Yeah. Probably just take the layers off as the day goes on.
That's good preparations. And if you're going to be at home watching the race, you can catch NBC Sports coverage, which here in Charlotte will be on WCNC.
Yeah, so it should be a great weekend. I know a lot of people are excited about this. Playoff crunch time for the Xfinity Series and the NASCAR Cup Series. That means we're eliminating drivers that has that potential to win the championship. So that always adds the extra drama put on top of a road course that's very narrow. It just spells drama.
Well, we'll watch that drama carefully this weekend. Luckily, no drama in the skies, but best of luck to you and everyone here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And thanks again for getting us access.
Yeah, hey, anytime.
That does it for the special edition of the Carolina Weather Group. We'll be back next week with another episode of our show exploring weather, science, technology, and more from across the Carolinas.